Spoiler: the score Anthony gives in this video is greater than a 0.
Hi everyone, Brythony Oranjo here. The internet's busiest music nerd. And it's time for a review of this new Radiohead album, A Moon-Shaped Pool. LP number 9! From UK-based art rock outfit Radiohead. 5 years later, following up their last full-length album, The King of Limbs, which received mixed reviews. Personally, wasn't too crazy about the album. You could check out my review for it. I'll link it at the back end in the end slate of this video. Going into this new album, all I was really hoping for was something just a little more organic, less robotic, synthetic, and calculated. And I definitely got that, especially in the tracks that teased up to this album, like Burn the Witch, which featured very fluid percussion, sort of a linear song structure, very beautiful acoustic string arrangements, didn't sound synthetic or sort of out of a box or anything, sounded like Johnny Greenwood probably arranged them for the song. The strings also were pretty dissonant at one point. I love Tom's soaring vocals on the hook. And then we had the second single and video from this album, the song Daydreaming, which was an even drearier track with its very somber piano arpeggios, Tom's voice sounding heart-wrenching, swirling, kind of psychedelic but very pretty arranged instrumentation popping up in the background, some very unsettling reversed vocal effects at certain points in the song too. The instrumentals on these songs had a sort of natural chemistry to them that The King of Limbs sort of lacked. However though, with these tracks, and these were the singles from the record, Radiohead sounded like they were moving in a direction which was very soft, very subtle, nuanced, and maybe even depressing. And that's, in fact, what happens on the rest of the album. And an album like that naturally is not going to appeal to everybody. There are going to be charges that it's too quiet, it's boring, it's underwhelming. And I could certainly relate to that. I didn't really care for the slowed down and very open and spacey approach that Beck took to his last album, and for a while now I have not been able to enjoy a national record. But A Moon-Shaped Pool is not just super minimal melodies and bland ambience being passed off as legitimate mood music. Amongst these very vast and nocturnal soundscapes, there are compelling songs and linear song structures, much like what was on The King of Limbs, but they go over much better here thanks to the more live and in-the-moment instrumentation. Tom and Johnny and company do a great job of making sure that the instrumentals pick up more and more momentum as the song progresses, and they keep things interesting with additional layers and chord changes, and making sure that the existing instrumentation in the mix is being played with a little more vigor. Take the song Full Stop, for example, maybe the most The King of Limbs-ish track on the entire track listing here, especially with its cycling beat and bass line at the beginning of the song. Tom's vocals quiver with a very odd crack in his voice as he's singing about having to take this really bad tasting medicine, and then eventually the drums, the bass, the guitars kind of explode into this propulsive krautrock-ish instrumental with these psychedelic swirls of melody popping up in the background, and there's this really catchy kind of hypnotic mantra about the truth messing you up in the lyrics too. It's kind of defeatist, and many of the other tracks in the track listing here are equally dismal, like with the song Deck's Dark, where lyrically Tom's coming in and telling the story about a UFO that comes in and sort of cripples humanity with this deafening sound. A metaphor, I'm sure, when you're listening to Radiohead, there's always some kind of subtext going on. Maybe something about impending doom on this track or an unignorable problem. But there are a few spots here and there where Radiohead attains a slice of bliss, like on the song Desert Island Disc, which is this droney, very serene and kind of acoustic cut, though the abrupt ending on here does kind of leave it feeling like a motif. Much of the rest of this record, though, is incredibly heartbreaking and very sad, painfully sad, like on Daydreaming, or with the fractured pianos and kind of wispy strings on the song Glass Eyes, a track that sort of seems Tom describing feeling this paralyzing anxiety at the train station where he just kind of feels alienated and distant from all of these people who he kind of envisions as having cold, dead faces and just no emotional qualities to them. He's kind of overwhelmed with this feeling, and in the second verse, he goes as far as to, I guess, kind of embrace this reclusive past, surrounding himself with nature and just being away from people to rid himself of this pain. I like the similarly scattered pianos on the intro of the song The Numbers, but the track actually develops into a very smooth, easygoing piece of folk rock, and the lyrics actually take kind of a protest song tone. You wouldn't really know it from just listening to the song instrumentally because, again, that folk rock element is so subtle. But again, Tom, in the lyrics here, he is literally calling upon the people and saying that the system is a lie. The song kind of has a mix of warning, but also optimism that the future is within the efforts of the people to get together and fight against the system that's oppressing them. However, a lot of what Tom is saying on this track just seems so general. His point isn't very pointed. I've read people talking about how this is a climate change song, but really you could kind of interpret these lyrics to mean many different things because, again, they are literally that general. You know, you do get that sense that it is a protest song, but not a very focused one. The final string crescendo on this track is beautiful, though, and the album's final moments are intriguing, too. I love the eerie melodies and the Latin rhythms on the song Present Tense. Tom sings on this song about distance being a weapon, which it most certainly can be, kind of using distance to hurt other people by depriving them of your presence, or using distance as a self-defense weapon to keep other people from hurting you. There's also these fantastic images of him dancing and the world crashing down around him, but I'm mostly enamored with the instrumental on this track. The very classy guitar arpeggios are beautiful, background vocals, the shuffling rhythms. It's just a really well put together tune. And I just love that it's so instantaneously catchy and captivating, and yet, like many other songs in the track listing here, it's so subtle. It's so soft. Tinker Tailor is maybe the only track in the track listing where I would say the softer approach kind of leaves it feeling somewhat directionless. But the album does end off strong with the beautiful but unsettling True Love Waits, which, if you just observe the title and listen to the gentle pianos, you might think it's some kind of romantic statement, when in fact, when you dig deeper into the lyrics, there's more painful sadness, where Tom describes a relationship where essentially he is wasting time, he's subjugated, he is desperately trying to get this person to stay. He's essentially compromising himself in every way possible just to avoid loneliness. And there's no resolution, there's no sort of silver lining to this cloud, there's no ray of sunshine that comes down and kind of clears all this dreariness away. Tom leaves us simply with that very soul-crushing thought. And that's it. There's not really much more to say about this ending. You know, it's not like a big finish or anything like that. It's just like, hey man, think about that. This is a haunting, it's a beautiful, it's a powerfully sad record. It's also very immersive, and I would say the soft approach that the instrumentals take on this album is going to make this record a grower. Maybe not for Radiohead's most hardcore fans who will really give anything they put out a shot, but for people who might just be casual fans or kind of skeptical of this record, it might take a few more listens to kind of get into it. But if you do find this album underwhelming, completely understandable. This is not the kind of record that you would put on for a party. I wouldn't even necessarily recommend this album to first-time Radiohead listeners. This is an album for midnight listens, for introspective moments, for those times in your life where you are having your soul crushed because your greatest fears have come true. This record is easy on the ears, but very heavy on the heart. I'm feeling a decent 8 on this LP.
Transition! Have you given this album a listen? Did you love it? Did you hate it? What would you rate it? You're the best. You're the best. What should I review next? Hit that like if you like. Please subscribe or you'll die. Anthony Fantano, Radiohead forever.